Bibliophiles of the internet, my name's Adriana, and today I'm here to give you some recommendations for books that fit the Queer Lit Read-a-thon challenges. For those of you who may not know, the Queer Lit Read-a-thon is a biannual event where we dedicate a week to reading nothing but queer lit, and the next round starts on December 2nd. So if you want more information on that, I invite you to go watch my announcement video, which will be linked down below, so do your homework and check that out. As I said in that announcement, this round will be continuing with our bingo challenge board, and there are 16 different categories you can attempt. And of course, we encourage doubling up, tripling up, quadrupling up on challenges. That's entirely your choice. So today I just wanted to go through some rapid fire suggestions for each category that you can take or leave as you please. I will not be giving synopses for any of these because that would be way too much, and also I haven't read all of these myself. Some obligatory disclaimers: this list is in no way definitive nor exhaustive because I have not read or even heard of every queer book in existence. Yet. And also, I will not be giving recommendations for See Yourself, 5-star prediction or hyped book, and genre outside your comfort zone because those are way too subjective and I would have no way of addressing everyone's personal taste. So you're on your own for those. And I haven't thought about how I want to do it yet, but if you see like a star symbol somewhere on screen, that will denote a book I personally endorse. I think that's all the housekeeping stuff, so let's get into this. The first category is Indigenous Protagonist. For that, I have Fire Song by Adam Garnet Jones, which I will most likely read myself, Beyond Body, Space, and Time by Hope Nicholson, Fullmetal Indigiqueer by Joshua Whitehead, and Gives Light by Rose Christo. That last one does come with an asterisk because the author's background is questionable at best, and I have no answers about that. But still, this series remains one of the most beautiful things I've ever read, and I think it's respectfully done with an incredible love story and a disabled queer native protagonist. So I don't want to discourage anyone from reading it, I'm just floating it out there as a choice. Next up is New to You author, which is somewhat subjective, but I thought I would name off some debut authors because there's a higher chance you might not have read them yet. So for that I have This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story by Kheryn Callender, which is their YA debut, Let's Talk About Love by Kann, Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan, The House of Impossible Beauties by Joseph Cassara, Anger is a Gift by Mark Oshiro, and Running with Lions by Julian Winters. Then we have Ace or Arrow Spectrum Protagonist. So for sure we have Let's Talk About Love by Kann, The Trouble by Daria Defore, where the aromantic rep is Own Voices, Any Way the Wind Blows by Carlin Grant, Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna Maguire, Tosh Hearts Tolstoy by Catherine Ormsby, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee, How Not to Summon Your True Love by Sasha L. Miller, and Whole Metal Girls by Emily Skrutsky, whose Abyss Surrounds Us duology would also be great for this event. Next is Trans Spectrum Protagonist. Of course, I have Peter Darling by Austin Chance, The Gods of Tango by Carolina de Robertis, The House of Impossible Beauties by Joseph Cassara, Not Your Villain by C.B. Lee, The Tiger's Watch by Julia Ember, Dreadnought by April Daniels, and Unkindness of Ghosts by Rivers Solomon, and if you're lucky enough to have an arc, I Wish You All the Best by Mason Dever, and if you have an arc, I am extremely jealous. Skipping ahead, next we have graphic novel or comic. I have to mention The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang, Fence by Joanna the Mad and C.S. Bukat, Check Please by Ngozi Okazu, and maybe the Legend of Korra comics would work for this because Korra and Asami are big ol' queers and I love it. There's also Princess Ever After by Katie O'Neill, pretty much any volume of Lumberjanes, and also the Backstagers would work for this as well. Next up is our group book, and I have some exciting news on that front because the Twitter poll is officially up and you can vote now until November 18th to decide what our group book is. I get to officially announce the 4 options chosen by you. We have Bingo Love by T. Franklin, Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan, Running with Lions by Julian Winters, and Peter Darling by Austin Chance. So thank you again for all of your suggestions. I will leave a link down below to the poll itself, so be sure to cast your votes. Next up is one of my favorite categories, middle grade book. There are so many fantastic options. I immediately thought of George by Alex Gino, Drumroll Please by Lisa Jen Bigelow, Alan Cole Is Not a Coward by Eric Bell, Star-Crossed by Barbara D, and Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake. Next we have Disabled Protagonist. I thought of An Unkindness of Ghosts by Rivers Solomon, where the protagonist is gender nonconforming and on the autism spectrum, Mean Little Deaf Queer by Terry Galloway, which is actually nonfiction, All in the Family by Q Kelly, where one of the protagonists is deaf, and unfortunately that is the extent of my knowledge. So for this one, I'm going to link LGBTQ Reads down below because their site has a whole page dedicated to queer books with disabled and neurodivergent characters. Next up is POC author, and I have so many ideas. There's C.B. Lee, Julian Winters, Anna-Marie McLemore, Yoonha Lee, Kheryn Callender, River Solomon, J.Y. Yang, Mark Oshiro, Melinda Lowe, Natasha Ngan, Adam Garnet Jones, Claire Kann, Zoraida Cordova, Carmen Maria Machado, Gabby Rivera, Adam Silvera, Benjamin Alere Sainz, and that's just like scratching the surface. Next is the challenge to read a translated book. The only book I found myself for this was Poems of a Penicist by Takahashi Mutsuo, which I will definitely be looking into because it's described as an epic-length poetic exploration of eroticism and sensuality in the context of the male form, and I'm all about that. But then I turned to a dear friend who I consider to be one of the experts on translation here on BookTube, my beautiful boy Matthew Sharapa, and he very generously gave me some recommendations. So his top pick was Notes of a Crocodile by Kui Miaojin, which he says will break your heart, History of Violence by Edward Lewis, which comes with trigger warnings for rape as a central topic, Moonstone by Sijon, which he describes as very raunchy, 10 Counts by Rihito Takarai, which he notes as somewhat problematic and definitely graphic, but still something he loves, and Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto, which he says hasn't aged well but was a very formative queer text. So I will leave those listed down below with his notes, and I will also link to a couple of articles I found that feature translated queer books. Next is another of my favorite categories, historical fiction book. I'm all over this. I got The Gods of Tango by Carolina de Robertes, The Air You Breathe by Francis de Pontes Bibles, The House of Impossible Beauties by Joseph Cassara, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee, Fingersmith or Really Anything by Sarah Waters, and Passing Strange by Ellen Klages. And finally, we have the category Own Voices. There's definitely going to be some crossover here from other categories I've mentioned just because that's who I am, but let's get into this pretty sizable list. There's Peter Darling by Austin Chant, Fire Song by Adam Garnet Jones, Fullmetal Indigiqueer by Joshua Whitehead, I Wish You All the Best by Mason Dever, The House of Impossible Beauties by Joseph Cassara, Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado, Not Your Sidekick by C.B. Lee, George by Alex Gino, An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon, Of Fire and Stars, and Ink Mistress by Audrey Coulthurst, You Know Me Well by Nina LaCour and David Levithan, Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera, Ariandante by Benjamin Alere Sainz, They Both Die at the End or Anything by Adam Silvera, Wild Beauty, When the Moon Was Ours, and Blanca y Roja by Anna-Marie McLemore, The Trouble by Daria Defore, Running with Lions by Julian Winters, Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour, and Dreadnought by April Daniels. Again, that's not an exhaustive list, those are just the books I immediately thought of in the moment. Every single title I mentioned will be listed down below in their respective categories, and I will also link to certain sites and articles in a few categories where you can get even more recommendations. So with all that said, are any of the books I mentioned here on your TBR for the Queer Lit Read-a-thon, or do you have any recommendations in categories that I might have missed? Let me know in the comments. But that's everything I had for this wild recommendations roundup today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the flip side of the page. Bye!